Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited that you are here for this talk on Bridging the Gap, 3 tools to help you manifest your vision for change in society. Thank you so much for being here. I have a question that I would like to start us off with. Do you find yourself complaining about some of the systems around you in society? And if you do, I would love to hear about what those are. So if you could please pop those in the chat and we can share with each other and see what it is that we find ourselves complaining about. Oh, too much bureaucracy. Totally. I so get that. Doreen, thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Well, you know what? When you look around you in the world, what do you see that bothers you? Yes, Louise, our political system. You're saying in Canada, here in the US as well, really bothersome. Kimberly, I like it that you don't complain, but that you do worry. So even if you don't complain, when you worry, you know, that's something that is because sometimes those worries keep us up at night. And really, you know, we don't want to be losing sleep. And there's a reason that we worry about those things. When you find yourself complaining about something, it's really, I believe, a message from the universe. Don't just complain. You were born to help those things change. Elizabeth, yes, unhealthy power dynamics. Some people using power over others, definitely. Those are the things that need to be changed. And I'm so glad that you're sharing those things because you're a change maker. Those of you that are on this call, you're change makers. I'm a change maker. And being a change maker can really be hard work. You've probably already seen that, right? There are times when you bump into roadblocks and setbacks. And so in the next hour, I'm going to share with you some of the tools that you can use to help you manifest your vision for change in society. And then I'll be telling you about an opportunity to take the work deeper if you're interested. It really is possible to manifest your vision for change, even if your vision seems so far out there, so different than what's in place now. It really is possible to make it happen. I'm going to start today by sharing the 3 tools that most change makers have asked me about. And then at the end, we'll be talking about specific questions that you have and having a lively discussion. So I hope you'll be able to stay for the entire time. I'm Tamara Herl, and 9 years ago, I was in a much different situation than I am today. But I want to start by telling you what my life is like now. So I am so blessed because I live on a beautiful piece of property, 9 acres in Colorado. There's a sparkling mountain stream that runs through it. And every day, whenever I want to, I can go out and sit by that stream. And I love it because it's one of the few things that really helps me quiet that monkey mind. I don't know if you struggle with that, but that quiets my mind and I can get fully present in the moment. And it's such a blessing. And not only that, when I'm done having my nature time, I come back inside and then I get to work with whoever I want to, whenever I want to. It's just such a blessing. And it's very inspiring. But it wasn't always that way. Excuse me, let me get a drink. As I said earlier, 9 years ago, it wasn't that way. I was part of a very dysfunctional system. The productivity expectations were so high that if I would have done everything they asked me to do, there was no way that I would have had good work-life balance. Just even trying to keep up with what I was doing. So most people I found out they were either staying late every night or skipping lunch. And I didn't do that because I thought that's just not going to work for me. I still tried to keep up as best I could, but it was still exhausting, and I felt really overwhelmed. I found out that I just wasn't keeping up, and that made me feel really anxious and frustrated. One day after I'd been at the company for about 3 months, the head of the department walked in and she looked me in the eye and she said, "You're behind on your paperwork and you need to stay here tonight until you get caught up." She left my office and I remember just sitting there feeling stunned. I thought, 3 months of paperwork in one night. How is that even possible? So I was really worried. Eventually they came back in and said, oh, okay, you don't have to stay here tonight, but until you get it done. But I knew that I was in trouble and I needed to figure something else out. So I really just had to get focused and tap into my creativity and innovation. And I came up with a schedule that I was really excited about because it included longer blocks of time for me to do paperwork so that I could be more effective. And then also I added in groups. I was a therapist and I thought, well, I could be seeing more than one person at a time. And that way there's a better chance for me to meet those productivity expectations. So I took the plan back into work. I walked into the department head's office. My supervisor was there too. I handed them the plan and I just sat there with my heart pounding as they looked it over. Seemed like an eternity while they looked at it. But then they looked at me and they said, we can't do this. It has to come from us. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I thought, why can you not accept this plan? It's brilliant. It's win-win for everyone that was involved. So I felt very irritated, but I thought, well, I'm just going to try to do my best. And I stayed at that place for a while longer. And then but it just, it just didn't feel good because the expectations were still so high. So then I tried working at a couple of other places and it still just wasn't working. I had this vision for change. And I finally realized that my vision for what needed to change was just so different that there was a huge gap and they just couldn't see what I could see. And I finally decided to leave the system. And that was a real turning point for me because I was really afraid. I thought, I don't think I can make it on my own in private practice. But I just thought, you know what? I just have to leave. I just have to take a leap of faith. And so I just tapped into divine guidance and thought, I'm going to just take the leap. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like that. I'm guessing you probably have. Once I took that leap of faith, though, then there were things that I needed to do in order to climb out and to start my own business. The first thing that I had to do was to find property because I knew that part of my vision included wanting to take people out in nature. So we started looking, and I don't know if you know anything about land prices in Colorado, but the property is very expensive out here. Let me get another drink. It's also hard to stay hydrated in Colorado. So our poor realtor, she showed us place after place after place, and none of them were quite right. But she was very determined. We finally found a place that was almost like what we wanted. I remember standing in the kitchen and looking out the window when we were in that place that we thought, well, we'll just settle for this. It's almost what we want. I looked out the window and about 25 feet away was a bobcat. That was so cool. I thought, that's a really big cat. And then I realized it was a bobcat. And I thought that was so cool because I knew it was a divine sign. So after we left there, I looked up what bobcats signify in spiritual terms. Anyway, so I knew that it was a divine sign that we shouldn't just settle for that place just because it was almost what we wanted. And so then I sought help from a psychic. And I said, I told her all about what we wanted. And she said, there is a place for you, but it's not on the market yet. I thought, okay, it's good to know that there's a place for me, but how am I going to find it if it's not on the market? So we went and talked to our realtor again, and she remembered that the place that she grew up, she knew the owners, and she remembered that they were wanting to sell, but it wasn't on the market yet. So she called them. We went and looked at it. We fell in love, and the rest is history. We bought it, and it's just been such an incredible journey to bring this place to life, back to life again, this property. My next step in creating my vision for my business was to get some training in forest therapy. I'd been going out in nature all of my life, but I thought, if I'm going to do this as a professional thing, I need to make sure that I know what I'm doing. So I signed up to become a certified forest therapy guide, and I was at the training, and I loved what I was hearing because they taught me how to really take people out in nature and really help them get centered and focused on and noticing what's around them with all of their senses. And then you ask the question, what are you noticing? And I thought, well, that's brilliant. I love that. And then I started thinking, though, I want to take it deeper, because I don't only want to ask them what they're noticing. I want to ask them why they're noticing what they're noticing. And in forest therapy, they said, no, just ask them what they're noticing. So then I was having this dilemma. I was like, oh, should I stay at the training, or should I try to get my money back? Because it's not really what I want. But I knew it was valuable and I was loving what I was learning. So I stayed there, and I really got anchored into my values of really wanting to help people tap into their potential. So then I signed up for Nature Connected coaching class, and there was where I got validation that yes, there's deep value in asking people why they're noticing what they're noticing. So that really helped me, and I felt like I had more of the tools that I needed to manifest this vision for change. Once I had those pieces in place, then it was time for me to go a step further and start networking. Because before I had been a therapist, and the company just funneled clients to me, but now I had to go and find my own clients. And then I started bumping into resistance from inside of me, because there were parts of me that were saying, what? You don't know how to network. You're an introvert. What are you doing out there in the middle of people? Luckily, I decided to get some training in a process that's called parts work, or internal family systems. And then I realized what was going on. I realized that there were parts inside of me that were afraid and wanted to keep me safe. And so those parts would kind of get behind the steering wheel and would try to steer me off course, because they were trying to protect me. So can you relate to what I'm saying? I mean, do you ever have parts of you that get in your way when you're trying to make an important change? Now that I know what's possible, I just use these tools that I've learned, because they helped me, and I know that they can help you too. It really is possible to manifest your vision for change, even if your idea for change feels so big or so different from where you are now that you have no idea how you're going to make it from here to there. Along this journey, I've realized that there are people like me, people like you, probably. That's probably why you're here, because you might see a gap between where you are now and your vision for change. When you start bridging the gap, you're likely to encounter some resistance, and some of it is probably going to come from outside of you. You might have friends and family and coworkers that are saying, don't make waves. Why are you rocking the boat? Or you might find that you have internal resistance like I did. You might be asking yourself, do I even have what it takes? But despite that resistance that you might be feeling outside of you or from inside, I'm guessing probably your vision will not let you settle for the status quo. You can't just sit back and not do anything, because there's a part of you that's whispering, you know how to make this better. So today I'm going to share with you tools that can help you bridge your gap. The first tool that I like to share with you, I call it your compass, because it's where you tap into divine guidance. On your journey as a change maker, sometimes it can feel like you have a incomplete map, like some of the pieces are missing, or like you can't see all the steps. And you might be wondering, well, how can I move forward when I can't see all the steps? When that happens, your spirituality can be an important tool that can help you figure out how to move forward. So I'd like to ask you what your spiritual beliefs are. Today, when I'm talking, you'll hear me using the word spirituality. And if that word doesn't work for you, I just invite you to use whatever word does work. I define spirituality as something that encompasses just all of the different belief systems. And so think about all the different belief systems as being small circles, and then spirituality as a larger circle that encompasses all the smaller ones. What I found is that change makers can really benefit when they bring their spirituality into the workplace and into, or whatever change they're trying to create. When you're manifesting something that you've never seen before, it can feel really scary. You can feel lost and overwhelmed, and you might find that you're losing momentum. And then is when it's the perfect time to tap into your vision and your divine guidance so that you can move forward. And there are a lot of ways to tap into your spirituality. You might pray, you might use oracle cards, you might spend time in nature. One thing that I encourage change makers to do when they're trying to tap into their divine guidance and use their compass is just to get really clear about what they need guidance around. Because I feel like we have a team of divine guides who are just waiting to help us, but they don't know, do I need help with getting my car fixed, or do I need help with my vision? So write down what it is that you want help with and make it as specific as you can. The second thing that I invite change makers to do is to invite the universe to co-create with you. So instead of writing down a question like, will I get the resources I need? Instead, write down something like, how can I align with the universe to co-create this change that needs to happen in the world? If you find yourself getting stuck or your vision isn't showing up the way that you want it to, then ask the universe to explain why. Just assume that the universe has placed this challenge in front of you for a reason, and that it's serving you and it's going to help you grow as a change maker. Another thing that you can do if you feel like pieces of your map are missing or you're not seeing all the steps towards making your change happen is just to try a process that's called vision mapping. Vision mapping is a little bit different than a vision board. I love vision boards because they show you like your vision of what you want for your life or this change that you're trying to manifest, and that's awesome. But if you can't see all the steps in between where you are and where your vision is, then when you make a map, it can help you show the journey to get there. It can show you that you can use the map to show the challenges that might show up and the milestones that will mark your progress, and even the resources that you already have and maybe the ones that you need so that you can get there. I think it's really helpful to think of your journey as a change maker in terms of a metaphor. So, maybe it's climbing up a mountain or taking a journey across the ocean. In order to help you do this, because I think this is such a valuable tool, I'm going to lead us through a guided meditation that I invite you to take part in right now. So just take a few deep breaths, and if you want to close your eyes, you can. And when you're hearing the sound of my voice, if there's anything I say that you don't resonate with, feel free just to tune me out and just do what you need to do to keep yourself happy and safe. But as you breathe, I invite you just to picture your vision for change. What is it that needs to change in society? See if you can picture the people that will be impacted and why it's different. And really see if you can get deeply connected to your vision for change. And now let your connection to your vision soften just a little bit and picture where you are now. What lies between you and your vision? Does it feel like choppy waters or maybe a huge ravine? Maybe it feels like you're on the earth and your vision is on the moon. Really spend some time sensing into what the gap between you and your vision feels like. And then when you feel ready, I invite you to bring yourself back to the space where you're sitting. And I also invite you to, as you continue your journey, if you feel guidance, if you need guidance or you feel stuck, just remember to pull out this compass of divine guidance. And remember to use your own intuition as well. Remember to just watch for divine signs along the way, like that bobcat that I saw. Synchronicities are going to show up in your path, along your path. And you can just learn to notice those and interpret those. And that's one of the things that we do in my 6-month coaching program. The results of being able to tap into your guidance and use your compass, you'll spend less time avoiding making decisions, and you'll be able to move forward with more momentum because you know that the universe has your back. I'd like to share a story with you about a client that I'll call Aggie. Aggie is such an amazing person. Before she started working with me, she was feeling so confused and conflicted. She's in part of a very demanding profession, and she was even thinking about leaving her career, which was sad because she had invested so much time and effort and money into getting her degree. In a session with me, I guided her in creating this image. And once I helped her interpret it, she realized that her heart was just being pulled in so many different directions and that she needed support, especially in her job. So after a few months, she was able to leave that system and she found a job in another system where she has more support. And that's so wonderful because it's allowing her to continue her mission of helping children learn. Aggie used art as her compass. I'd love to know what your compass is, what helps you find direction when you are feeling like you can't see all the steps. So go ahead and pop what your compass is. Go ahead and pop that into the chat. Your heart. Yes, Doreen, I love that. Oh, writing definitely helps. I love it that your compass tugs at you when you feel misaligned. It's so nice to know. Yeah, getting quiet is so important, and drawing, definitely. Yes, Elizabeth, walking in nature helps me too. Thank you so much for sharing those things. Yeah, there are lots of different ways to do that. Dance. Oh, I love that, Erica. That's right. Yeah, dance your way to clarity and energy work. I love all those things. Thank you for sharing those. Now I'd like to tell you about the second tool that can help you manifest your vision for change. And that is just, I call it dropping anchor. And what it is really, it all revolves around building your ability to tolerate uncertainty. Because on your journey as a change maker, the unexpected can happen, right? I bet you've seen that. Things can show up differently than what you expect them to, or they don't happen when you want them to. That's what I find so frustrating. It's like, I want it to happen now. It can feel like when that happens, so it can feel like you're going in circles or you've drifted off course, or maybe it even feels like you're in the middle of a storm sometimes. And when that happens, it's really time to just drop anchor and get anchored in your values. That can really help. When you are getting anchored in your values or trying to do that, I just encourage you to think about why you're trying to make this big change. Who is impacted now by things being the way they are, and how are they being impacted, and what will happen if things don't change? It's just tapping into your why. I'd like to tell you a story about a woman that I'll call Kathy, who I have worked with. She is just amazing. She has a big vision around changing the way that services are offered to kids who learn differently. Prior to working with me, she was really feeling overwhelmed and she was just procrastinating on lots of things. And she was really starting to get burned out. After working with me for several months, things really started to shift for her. She had a lot on her plate. So she was telling herself, oh, I don't have time to write, even though that was one of her superpowers. She just wasn't, excuse me, wasn't allowing herself to do that. Let me grab another drink of water here. But I invited her to do that. I said, can you just carve out a little bit of time to write because you know how much you love it. So she did. She gave herself permission to do that. And it was so exciting to see. It created a huge shift for her because it helped to fuel her passion for change. And now she just uses her writing whenever she feels stuck. As a change maker, you're going to need to grow. I mean, that's just a guarantee, I think. And also, you're probably going to feel uncertain at times. And anchoring into your values, like Kathy did, can make it a lot easier to tolerate uncertainty and the unknown while your vision unfolds. So, what's your anchor? What's a value that you have that helps you tolerate uncertainty? I would love it if you could share with us in the chat. Renee, I see. Yeah, the universe screaming. Yeah, the universe screams at me sometimes too. Trust is so important. Dr. Doreen, thank you for sharing that. Inclusion. Oh, beautiful. Truth. Yes. Alignment. Oh, possibility. I love that, Jade. Authenticity. Yes, Renee. Those are all so many important anchors. So I'm glad that you know that they're there for you and that you can drop into those values and drop your anchor when you need to. Okay, now I'm excited to share with you the third tool for manifesting your vision for change. And I call this one minding your helm. Helm is a nautical term that is connected with the ship's steering wheel. On your journey as a change maker, there are times when you might notice that you have mixed feelings and internal conflict. You might have thoughts like, who am I to do this? And of course, that's when your imposter syndrome gets activated. And you're probably also having thoughts like, this thing really needs to change. So when you have those two thoughts that are happening simultaneously, or one right after the other, that's when that process that I was talking about earlier called parts work or internal family systems can be very effective in helping you deal with this because it can help you not only manage those thoughts, but even more importantly, it can help you get to the root of the core of what is driving those unhelpful thoughts and behaviors. And you'll know that you need to use this tool if you find yourself having those conflicting internal thoughts. Let's say that you're sitting at a meeting at work or you're hanging out with friends and you hear them talking about something that's related to your vision. And there's a part of you that thinks, oh, you should tell them about your vision. And then there's another part of you that's like, no, don't speak up. They'll think you're dumb. So when things like that happen, then you know that it's time to mind your helm and to do the internal work that's necessary when you're ready to create change that lasts. Here's how parts work is designed, or these are kind of some of the basic foundations of parts work. We are all born with parts. And then as we go through life, there are new ones that emerge just in the course of living life, and especially when we encounter challenges and traumatic things. Some parts of us generate limiting thoughts and beliefs, and others are healthy and they have lots of resources and they generate healthy thoughts and actions. Here's where the metaphor of a ship comes in. Your internal parts are like the crew of a ship, and different members of the crew take turns being captain and getting behind that captain's wheel. So when your change maker part is at the helm, then you're ready to, yeah, I want to manifest this vision for change. But when a protector part of you that is, they have good intentions, they're trying to keep you safe, but they're like, no, this is too scary, because they remember a time when you tried to create change and something scary happened. So they're going to steer you off course maybe. And it's just it drains your energy for one thing, because you've got all this conflict going on in your head. And so that is why it's really important to be able to manage your parts and mind your helm. I'd like to share with you a story about a woman who was struggling with this. I'll call her Chloe. She had two internal parts that were really struggling to have control of the helm. Her CEO part really wanted to expand her business. And that part kept telling her, you need to delegate because there's things that only you can do, and you need to let other people that are part of your team do some of the work. And so that was great because that was her change maker, her leader part was at the helm, but she also had another part that said, don't delegate. You should be doing this. You should feel guilty if you're delegating. So she just went back and forth and back and forth for the longest time. But as I continued to work with her, for over the course of like several months, she really realized finally that she needed to stop letting the fearful part, that it was really a people pleaser part, and she needed to stop letting that part get behind the wheel. And she was able to get all of her parts on board, and then she was able to open a branch in another state. So she was really manifesting her vision of being able to serve more people, not just in one state, but in multiple states. Who knows, maybe she'll go all the way around the world with her vision. I hope she does, because she's an incredible leader. I like this mask that I put on this slide because she called it her wild woman part. She said, I want to tap into this part that doesn't care what other people think and doesn't have to please everyone. So it was so awesome when she was able to really own that part of herself. So let's, actually, I'm going to ask you to do this in just a moment to find out who's at the helm, but I want to take you through a guided meditation because I really want you to be able to feel what it's like to connect with your different parts. So if you're game, I invite you to just do another short guided meditation with me. So if it feels comfortable to close your eyes, and I invite you to do that and just really pay attention to your body, get anchored in your body. Do some nice deep breathing. Feel your feet on the floor as you continue to breathe. And let's start by getting you connected with your vision for change again. Think about what it is that you feel so passionate about. People finding their voices, women having equal say, whatever your vision is, kids not getting bullied in school. Tap into your vision for change and imagine that it's happening. Things are happening in this new way that you envision. The world is a better place because your vision is manifest. Where do you notice this connection to this part in or around your body? Really anchor into that awareness so that you can come back to your connection with this part when you need to. And now I invite you to soften your connection to that part. And now I'd like for you to think about a time when you felt connected to all the people and places that you love. A time when you felt a deep sense of calmness. And your curiosity was really active, just so curious about everything. And when you felt just a deep sense of compassion for other people and also for yourself. A time when you felt caring and very creative, could just really innovate, come up with ideas no one's ever thought of before. And when you felt so brave that you knew that you would be willing to move forward no matter what. And when you felt deep clarity, it's crystal clear about what needed to happen next. In parts work, we call this self with a capital S, and it's actually not a part. This is the essence of you. It's a piece of the divine that lives inside of you as a spark. So where do you feel this connection in or around your body? It might feel the same as the first one, but it might feel a little bit different. See if there's a difference. And if there is a difference, where do you feel this connection? Anchor this awareness in your body, because being able to connect to self, and you might have a different name for it, but being able to connect to self is a huge blessing, and it can really help you in your work as a change maker. So just anchor in that awareness so that you can return to self and stay connected to self whenever you need to. And now think about a time when things got hard on your journey as a change maker. Just kind of let your connection to self soften just a little bit. Think about a time when things got hard on your journey as a change maker. Maybe you had thoughts about it being hard. You're thinking, it's too hard. Maybe someone else will do it. And maybe connect into the feelings too. Maybe you felt stuck. You just felt like giving up because it could be so hard sometimes. Where do you feel this in or around your body? It's important, even though this one might not be as fun, to feel the connection. It's important to be able to know, to sense this connection so that you know when this part of you is behind the wheel and is driving your thoughts and behavior. So anchor in your awareness to this part of you. And when you feel ready, I invite you to come back to your space. Take as much time as you need. And if you feel comfortable sharing this, I'd love to hear about what you call this part of you that steers you off course. And if you feel okay about it, I'd love if you could pop it into the chat. Awareness is a huge first step, just being aware of these parts. Oh, the pusher, a great name for that. Yeah, pushing instead of allowing. The critter. Ah, yeah, what does it matter? The sloth. Oh, great names for these parts. The critic or the judge, definitely. Yeah. I have one that I call the runner because she wants to run away from stuff. And her behaviors are so weird. She like whenever I try to go out in nature, she plays music in my head. And I have to tell her stop. I have to tell her to play classical music instead of what she's playing. Oh, that's beautiful. Marai, if I'm saying your name right, that you let your sloth have her time when you rest. Yes, and in parts work, it's not like we're trying to get these parts of ourselves to go away. There are really no bad parts. All parts, they have good intention for you and they're all good. And when we work with them, you can help them repurpose. It's like once they know, because they're protecting a part of you that got wounded at some point in time. And once we heal that part, and then they realize that the sloth, the avoider, would realize that they don't have to keep doing that, and they can find a different job to do, and everybody can get on the same team, and then you can really move forward. It's so powerful. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Mr. Headache, too much overwhelm. Thank you so much for sharing those. Yeah, it's really interesting and really helps when you give them a name, I think, because then you can just become more aware of when they're behind the wheel. So I'd like to spend a few moments now just reviewing what we've talked about so far. So we've been talking about the three tools that you can use when you want to manifest your vision for change. The first one is your compass. Just dial into divine guidance if you can't see all the steps ahead of you. That's so powerful. And the second one is to drop anchor. Just really get anchored into your values when you're feeling uncertain, because then you can tolerate it and you don't feel the need to run away or do something like make a decision before you're ready. And the third one is to mind your helm. Just really, pay attention to who's behind the wheel so that you can have the energy and momentum that you need to manifest the change that you want to make. I'd like to just spend a few moments seeing what your biggest takeaways have been so far. So if you could just share those in the chat, I would love to see it. And I'm sure others would too if they're looking at the chat. Yeah, so what's really sticking with you? Oh, thanks, Doreen. All three are brilliant. Yeah. External change is an inside job, definitely. Yeah, because when we change inside, we build a firm foundation that really can make it possible for us to create lasting change. Meditations, perfect when you got those shifts going on. Yeah, as soul. Yep, you can call that what we call self, you can call soul, Kimberly, or any other word that you want to use. I like the anchor too. It really has helped. It helps me so many times because that uncertainty is hard for me to tolerate. Thanks for sharing that, Louise. Taking a break and regrouping. Inner compass. Yes, it's important to use our inner compass as well. Thanks for sharing that, Jade. Yes, just noticing the parts actively at play, actively doing their job, and they all feel like they have an important job to do. So just noticing that. Great. Thank you for sharing those things. So while you're on the journey of being a change maker, you all know how challenging it can be. And of course, you can try to do it alone, but you don't have to. How many times have you tried to do it alone, to go it alone? And were there times when you wish that someone had your back? Picture a long ocean voyage without the tools that you need, like no compass, no anchor, different people trying to take charge of the wheel. That journey would be so challenging. Now, imagine a journey having all the tools that you need, a co-pilot if you get off course, someone to help you celebrate your successes, someone to help you embrace the journey of the change maker, and helping you tap into just amazing abilities that you weren't even aware of. You don't have to do this journey alone. I've been taking these journeys with my clients for a while now. I showed Chloe how to stop letting her fear of delegating get in the way of making those changes that she wanted to make. And she was able to expand her vision, her business into another state. And now she's so proud of herself that she was able to become a more empowered leader and stop that self-sabotage that was going on. I helped Aggie realize how much she needed support in that system that she was part of. And once she found that support, she was able to start sharing innovative ideas. Like the other day, she told the administrator of the system that she wanted to have 4 reading groups instead of just 2. That's unheard of, but her administrator said yes. And now Aggie is so excited. She's more confident in her ability as a change maker and in her ability to transform that system that she's part of. These are the kind of changes that I'm helping my clients create in the world. So think about it. Do you want to make the journey alone, or would you like to have a trusted mentor along for the ride? If you'd like to explore what it would be like to have me by your side on your journey as a change maker, let's find some time to talk. You might be thinking, I don't have time and energy to add one more thing to my calendar. But you know what? Carving out time to do this is really important because you have a unique vision for change and you are the one that's meant to manifest it. So I'd like to tell you about an opportunity. It's a gift that I have for you. I call it a Power Up Potential session. And it's a place where you can tell me about your journey. During our time together, I will, hold on, let me stop for just a minute. During our time together, I will listen very deeply to your struggles. I love hearing about your journey for change, but I know you're probably having some struggles along the way, and I want to hold space and hear about those. I'll share with you ideas that I have about how you can tap into your potential so that you can navigate your journey more easily. And then that way you can, just move forward with more joy and confidence. I'll help you see your situation from a new perspective and tell you about how I can support you along the way. If you decide that's your best course of action, great, we'll move forward. But if not, no worries, because you can still find support through me or with me through my YouTube channel. And I'm always making social media posts. And I have a Facebook group that's called Spiritually Anchored Visionaries. There should be a link in the chat here. And so feel free to click on that as you want to learn more. So right now, I'm just going to invite you to pause. I'm going to pause now and just take a deep breath. And really get connected with your heart and see if a Power Up Potential session feels right for you. I've saved some spots in my calendar this afternoon and over the next few days. So before we get off the call today, scan the QR code that you see here on this slide or click the link in the chat so that you can book your free Power Up Potential session. Now, we're going to go to question and answer in just a few minutes, but before we do, I want to share one of my favorite quotes with you because I think it really does illustrate why it's so important for you to continue on your mission for creating change in the world. This quote came from a Hopi elder, and it was part of a prophecy that was made in 2000. And here's what they said. You've been telling people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell people that this is the hour. It's time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other. And do not look outside of yourself for the leader. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and from your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Thank you. So go ahead and unmute yourselves if you can, because now is the time when I would love to hear any questions that you have and thoughts that you have and challenges that you're encountering as a change maker.
Tamara, hi.
Hi, Renee.
This was beautiful. Thank you. Can
You're
you
so welcome.
discuss the anchor part a little more? What you meant
Sure.
about
Yes.
that?
Yes. Thank you for asking that. Well, for instance, I think I'll just use the story that I told a little bit about earlier. When I was getting my training as a forest therapy guide, and I realized I'd been there for like 2 days, and I realized, oh, they're not going to tell us how to go any deeper. And so I felt really uncertain. I thought, what should I do? Should I leave? Should I try to get my money back? And so there was a part of me, though, that knew that, I could have left right then, but I just thought, what do I really care about? What is the most important to me? And I realized that I really wanted to tap into ways to help people unleash their potential and just to discover things that abilities that they didn't even know that they had before. And so despite that uncertainty, I felt that uncertainty. I was going back and forth. I do that a lot. My friends know this about me. Doreen knows this about me. But I go back and forth a lot. And it's just uncertainty, and that's okay. I feel like I don't want to have it like a big ego head and like, oh, I know this is right. So I think it's important when you feel uncertain to just anchor into your why, anchor into your values. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
Totally. That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It sounds like almost a physical thing that you're talking about, a dropping down energetically, the way you just kind of visually took your hands and went like that, anchor.
It is. Yeah, that's a good, thank you for noticing that and I think, yeah, because I was in my head going back and forth and, oh, I spent all this money, blah, 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 and it's still not what I need. But then I went into my heart and I thought, oh, but I'm still getting value. It just means maybe I'll need more training, which I did. Yeah, but you're right. It is a physical thing, and that's a great way to describe it. Thank you, Doreen. What kind of things I'm curious, and what kind of things, as a change maker, what kind of uncertainties have you had to deal with?
For me, just getting started, there's like so many things that I can do. Even like while we were talking, I'm like, okay, I do live illustration, so I can do that. And then I do want to work with kids and families that have been bullied. I love moms and tweens. So yeah, I think that's what's hard is like there's like, and I could work with schools. So there's like all this stuff floating around, that I could do that I'm excited about, and now I'm really learning about media and digital media and how it's affecting kids' health. So anyway, there's like so many places to go. So that's what sometimes I find hard is like where to focus.
Me too. And thank you for sharing that, Kimberly, because I think that's something that everybody can relate to. And in that case, when that happens to me, that's when I use my compass. So that's when, I'll just go out in nature and I'll say, I'm feeling confused. I have all these things or I'll do an oracle card reading for myself, or I'll do journaling and I'll say, what's my next step? Help me. Or if you want to invite the universe to co-create with you, you can say, how can I get aligned with the universe to co-create my next step, the next best step? I think that really helps me because, yeah, there are so many. It's like being in the forest and you see there's so many paths you could take. Which one's the best one for me right now? Great question. Thank you. I think someone else had a question
Great answer.
too.
Great answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Elizabeth, and you're on mute, so let me see.
I unmuted everyone else.
Thank you.
Right, I found on when I get on a Changemaker charge that other people don't want to come along because they don't want to change, and you get a lot of pushback. Well, if you want to change this system, then you go do all the work. And so how to get people on board with your vision is an obstacle for a change maker. That's what
I agree. I agree. Thank you for asking that question. That's a valuable and important one, and I bet everybody that's on this call can relate to that. So let me just sit with that question. By the way, I love your phrase when I get on a change maker charge. I love that because it does feel like that. It's like, yes, I'm all energized. I'm ready to go forward. I'm going to change the world. And then you look behind you and you're like, wait, there's no one on the path with me. And again, that's a time where I just sometimes maybe I get kind of bossy with the universe because I'll say, look, this is me, the snarky me with my hands on my hips, and I'll say, look, you want me to create this vision for change. I need support. I can't do this all alone. So I'll ask the universe to put the right person in my path, or to show me a book that I need to read, or what else? And also I think it's important just to, Elizabeth, you could try just journaling about what it feels like to be alone on the path and to not have people on board with you, because then you're tapping into the feelings that your clients, the people that you want to help, they're probably feeling alone too. And I think part of it is just learning to use the language and to be able to articulate it clearly. And also to have the courage to speak up. Because like I can remember one time, I still kick myself for this. I was on, there's a lady named Judy Neal. She's famous. She wrote this book called Edgewalkers. She's, oh, so incredible. So I got her to come to our organization, and she gave this full day presentation, and I was up there introducing her or something. I can't remember. It was a brief moment in time where I shared the stage with her, and she invited me to lead people through a guided meditation. And a small part of me was stepped up and said, "Oh no, you can't do that." So I didn't. I said, "Oh no, Judy, you go ahead and do it." Okay, well, that is when I wasn't minding my helm very well, because I let that fearful part step up there. There I had a chance to share the stage with Judy Neal, and I turned it down. So I think it also involves, when you're looking at, are you believing in yourself enough? Do you have the faith in your vision? And even if no one else sees it, well, if no one else sees it, find some new friends. I mean, you can't, or you could, create your family of choice instead of sometimes our family of origin doesn't. And part of it is because they're afraid for us. They don't, it's like, oh, I don't want to see Tamara getting disappointed again. So they're like, just play it safe. But, find people who believe in you and who can hear are change makers. At least, I've had people say, just pay attention to who you spend the majority of your time with. Does that help, Elizabeth?
Yes, yes. I was thinking about it in an organizational context.
Oh, yes.
In that context, but you shifted it around beautifully. Yes. So yes. And so I'm looking at it in this context too.
Yeah, let me address it from an organizational standpoint too, because I was there for 9 years at least.
Yeah. People don't want to change the system.
No,
that
they
would mean
don't.
they'd have to think, they'd have to.
Yeah. And so let me tell you, because I've thought about that, because I used to feel shame around that. And actually I don't anymore. I just recently had a big breakthrough, thank goodness. I was able to, and it involved tapping into self. And I realized that they were doing the best they could, but they just could not see. The gap was too big. They just could not see what they were talking about, or what I was talking about. They just couldn't understand it. So during that time, I just found people that I knew were change makers like me. One thing I did was I created a course. It was not a course, it was a group for, because I was in mid-level management then. And so it was like administration kind of trusted me, and the people that weren't in mid-level management, they kind of trusted me too. And I felt their pain so badly. And so I went to my supervisor and I said, these people are really struggling. And I want to create this group where we could not just go in there and complain, but also share ideas for how we could help the system change. And she's like, oh, brilliant. And then she said, well, yeah, take your idea to the CEO. So then I was really scared, but luckily she bought into it. And so we had this, it lasted for 12 weeks, and we did pre and post testing, and we measured things like their productivity and assertiveness and things like that. And we got great results. We used art therapy and lots of other things, lots of other tools. So if you have if you're in a system and you have the energy to try to help the system change and you're not ready to leave yet, yeah, tap into your innovator part and see if you can come up with an idea. It was really cool that the group that I created, the project, actually helped the organization win an international award for bringing spirituality into the workplace. So that was really cool.
Love it.
And so, yeah, that's
beautiful story. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Louise has a question.
Oh, please share your question.
Yeah, so I understand, people don't want to change and they resist the change, but there is also that component of people who are burnt out. It's just the ennui of like, why bother? What do you do with that? Particularly when you're in a change movement, and you're charging along and because they drag.
Yeah, that is an excellent question. And thank you for asking it, Louise. And they do. Well, and actually um, I found myself feeling that way, which is one of the reasons why I left the corporate world, because I just couldn't show up. So that's one option, is to just leave. And I think that's why I felt shame around it. But then you can also, I think, when people are feeling burned out, one thing that you can do is educate people about compassion fatigue.
Mm.
Because compassion fatigue, there's ways that you can overcome that. I created a whole project when I was working for one organization, and it included things like help people realize that I can't remember the exact wording. It was something about let people know that there are like if there, let's say there's two people and one of them is feeling really burned out and the other one's kind of burned out too, and this is person A and this is person B, and person B has a tendency to just come in and just blah, I'm so burned out, blah blah blah, and person A can take it sometimes, but sometimes they're just not in a space to take it because they're feeling too down. So then you just teach person A and person B, hey, come up with a signal and let people know that there are times when I'm not going to be able to listen to that, because it's like treading water, and just one more thing would make you sink. So just educating organizations that yes, there are people that are feeling really burnt out. And I think also just creating, I was able to, one place that I worked, I was able to get them to create a peer supervision group. And I love taking art therapy in there. One time I had them, I said, think about how your work feels right now. And if it were a fairy tale, what would the title be? That was so fun. It just gave people a different way to look at it. And that kind of helped them get rejuvenated because they didn't feel alone. We tried to bring some humor in, and also just to really let people be heard, and to not pretend like everything's okay, just to acknowledge that it's hard. Does that make sense? Did that answer?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. I also have to tell you that the way you weave your ship and your water analogies in is absolutely beautiful and brilliant.
Thank you.
Mhm.
It's gorgeous. Thank you. No, that was a great answer.
Yes.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Well, I know we're at the top of the hour now. I can't believe it's been an hour already. It went by really fast for me. I hope it did for you too. And I hope that you really are taking away some things that will serve you in your journey as a change maker. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today and for your courage and commitments. And please feel free to reach out to me at any time if there's any way that I can support you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Wow.